FN50 firms lose millions of pounds despite achieving record revenues. This is by Gareth Roberts from Fleet News on the 7th of November 2025. Leasing companies face a loss on almost every electric car. Now let me just make this point as well. Leasing companies get these electric vehicles at a massive discount. They rent them out or hire them out for 3 years and then they make a loss. Just 2 years ago, the FN50 was reporting record-breaking profits, smashing the 2 billion mark for the first time. That was when there was a big waiting list for EVs, wasn't it? Well, there wasn't really, but they were pretending it was. So, last year, oh dear me, last year a collapse in used battery electric vehicle values negatively impacted performance, with pre-tax profits down by almost a third, 31.6% year on year, reaching 1.39 billion. With residual value RV price pressure continuing during the previous accounting period and leasing companies facing high inflation and increases to the cost of borrowing, figures for FN50 2025 make bleak reading. 1 in 5 leasing companies registered a loss, with the FN50 collectively reporting pre-tax profits of just £122 million, a dramatic 91.2% year-on-year decline. This was despite the FN50 achieving record-breaking revenues, beating last year's high of 13.6 billion to reach an incredible 13.9 billion, a year-on-year increase of 2%. Yawn. Record revenues not being matched by increasing profits have therefore negatively impacted the FN50's average profit margin, a ratio derived from a company's profit divided by its revenue. FN50 2025 figures suggest it has fallen from 10% in 2024 to just 0.9% this year. It stood at 17% in 2023. Lex Auto Lease and Tusker, part of the FN50's largest leasing operation, Lloyds Transport, both reported losses before tax for year ending December 2024. Lex Auto Lease reported a 10.6 million loss before tax in July, just 3 years after pre-tax profits hit more than £500 million. And don't forget, this would have been worse if it hadn't been for the fact that ICE vehicles were worth more than they thought, so negated some of the losses on EVs. The vehicle leasing giant blamed the decrease in reported profit on a combination of factors. They included an increase on underlying depreciation charges on the funded fleet, lower profits on the disposal of vehicles, particularly, well, only BEVs, lower profits, yeah, wishful thinking, and an increase in borrowing costs from interest rate rises. Tusker, meanwhile, also blamed a larger than expected loss on the disposal of vehicles and an increase in the cost of borrowing, for reporting a 34.2 million loss. It followed a loss of 710,000 the previous year. Shows you where EV residuals are going. ICE vehicle, they're fine. ICE vehicles, they sell no problem. They're going for overbook. EVs are stabilising, going for overbook. No. Revenues for the growing salary sacrifice provider increased significantly, however, up to 559.6 million from 337.6 million, on the back of a funded fleet that has risen from 22,000 to more than 70,000 cars in just 2 years. Well, I tell you what, I hope that other 50,000 is not EVs, because it is, there will be FUBARD. Leasing companies face a loss on almost every electric car. Now let me just make this point as well. leasing companies get these electric vehicles at a massive discount. They rent them out or hire them out for 3 years and then they make a loss. And now they're telling you, you know, if I was a suspicious type of person, I'd be thinking all these stories about 3 to 5 year old EVs selling so fast. I'd be thinking that that's spin. I'd be thinking it's propaganda. I'd be thinking that the leasing companies and the big boys who don't want to see the leasing companies go out of business, I think they're telling porkies in order to try and drag residuals of 3 to 5 year old EVs up so that car dealers will go out and buy them, they'll bid against each other and prices will go up. Who benefits? Not the customer. He'll benefit. If EVs were to stop depreciating, he would benefit because they would be cheaper to run. The leasing companies would benefit massively. Oh, Barry, that's bullshit. Is it? And don't just say I'm talking bullshit in the comments. If you genuinely think I am, show me where I'm going wrong. Show me what I've done wrong. Show me where I've lied. Prove to me that I was wrong. And if you prove to me that I'm wrong, I will make a video and I will hold my hands up and say I'm awfully sorry. I'm as bad as the EV shills, but I'm not. Nobody's as bad as them. The British Vehicle Rental and Leasing Association, this should be good, BVRLA, says the weakness of battery electric vehicle residuals consumes the majority of boardroom bandwidth. That's all they talk about. Well, I know, thank you BVRLA, because you've just reinforced what I've said. It's how do we stop it? We can only stop it by creating our own good news. And I'll give you 2 examples of this. I went to work for an internet firm and a guy approached us who had some very, very bad reviews. And he wanted so many reviews creating that it would push all his bad reviews and all the bad press down. And people would have to, you know, nobody goes onto page 3 looking at stuff. So that's what these people are trying to do. Keywords, positive stories about 3 to 5 year olds. You look at them, they're all rammed with keywords. So you search, one of their articles will come up and they repeat it over and over again. The headline and then the same sentence in the story. So it'll rank higher. Links to other stories. It's a big con. Big, big Ponzi scheme. Well, like I said, the people that are doing Ponzi schemes now call them EV schemes because it's bigger than Ponzi, in my opinion. Its latest leasing outlook reported how EV residual values declined by 60%, and then some, between September 2022 and September 2024, and have dropped a further 10% since then, leaving almost all of the first wave of EV contracts in the red. The rapid transition to BEVs in the fleet market has taken the average list price of company cars well above £40,000. However, used car buyers do not have the tax incentives which made these cars affordable to company car and salary sacrifice drivers. It has resulted in used battery electric vehicles fetching the same and frequently less than their internal combustion engine ICE equivalents at trade, despite having cost up to 50% more when new 3 years ago. This has led to 5-figure depreciation losses on some higher priced BEVs. As I say, don't forget they get them like 50%. They do a massive discounted deal with the manufacturers and buy them direct. The outlook remains uncertain, particularly with some sort of incentives for the used BEV market and with volumes continuing to rise. So they want incentives, they want grants on new, and then they want incentives on used, and they want cheap charging, and they want tax benefits. Earlier this year, Fleet News reported fleet managers were reporting discounts of 45% to 55% on new electric cars and vans as manufacturers attempted to grab market share. Well, they could get Maxus vans, they could get 3 for the price of 1. How bad is that? June's Fleet News at 10 webinar heard that buy one, get one free promotions are not unusual, particularly with larger fleet orders. So as I say, they get them half price, then they rent them out for 3 years, and then they lose 5-figure sums. How is it possible? You tell me how it's possible that the Climate Intelligence Unit can claim that a private person can save £1,500 a year or £2,600 on an Audi e-tron a year by buying one when professionals that get them half price to start off with lose money. Is that the stupidest thing you've ever heard from someone that calls themselves, the Climate Intelligence Unit? Why not just the Climate Unit? Why intelligence? Because it's a bit of a trades description thing, isn't it? You know nothing about car sales, and you just make yourself look stupid when you come out with figures. Why not just disband, go quietly, and leave us in peace without all your stupid headlines? Much of the pricing reduction is being driven by the zero emissions vehicle mandate, ZEV, with new market entrants, particularly Chinese. They love blowing the Chinese trumpet, particularly Chinese brands offering aggressive pricing to gain fleet traction. Both actions trigger a domino effect that undermines nearly new BEV prices and cascades down through the market, says the BVRLA. Well, if you've been watching my videos, I've been saying that for 2 years, probably 3 years about EVs. So thank you. So it wasn't bullshit. It isn't bullshit when I'm saying it. In some instances, leasing companies say they can now buy a new BEV for less than the price they are trying to sell the same car at 3 years old. As a result, the monthly rentals of some 2-year leases are now cheaper than 4-year contracts for the same car. Well, that's good. Due to concerns over longer term use values. Second-hand leasing growth. Second life leasing solutions offer a way to postpone depreciation pain, with Zenith becoming the latest leasing company to launch a used EV salary sacrifice scheme. In July, it reported how profitability had been hit by continued lower RV profits on the disposal of vehicles. Well, they weren't lower profits, they were bigger losses, so you've got that wrong. While underlying adjusted EBITDA, excluding RV profits, was up 14.2% year on year. Adjusted EBITDA was 42.2 million, down 34% year on year, when the values of the vehicle disposals were taken into account. Zenith has previously reported that 1 in 3 BEV contracts have been extended as part of Project Vault. They've even got their own name for it. The group's lease extension program to address the decline in used plug-in prices, creating 10.8 million of value since its inception in 2024. For the used EV market, the potential solutions are varied, explained Toby Poston. He likes the sound of his own voice, doesn't he? Chief Executive of the BVRLA. Here he is with his hand out again. Examples include a government-backed consumer campaign and a consistent approach to battery health certificates. Both would help to educate consumers and equip them to make informed decisions. However, he says a more tangible financial incentive would be to reconsider how benefit in kind tax is applied to used EVs. So they want grants and benefit in kind on used EVs. Adjusting the taxable amount based on the vehicle's current value, not still tied to its initial recommended retail price, would immediately make used EVs more affordable to more households, he said. The risks of leaving the used market to fend for itself are stark. Low demand creates a bottleneck of supply when new registrations will only increase, intensifying the risk being taken on by those leading the way. And they're not leading the way, are they? They're leading the way to their own destruction. Ultimately, the cost to source a new EV will have to rise to cover that risk, putting the brakes on adoption at the front end too. If you're considering an electric vehicle as a private and you think it's going to save you money, when the FN50 companies that buy thousands and thousands of them at less than half price in some cases can't make a profit or can't even break even, then you're out of your tiny mind. And if you believe these EV shills that tell you can save money, you can't. If you buy a new one and you're a private, you cannot save money, full stop. You'd be better off buying a nice vehicle. That's the truth of the matter. It upsets a lot of people, and as I say, they all say, oh, that's bullshit, but nobody ever corrects me. They usually end up blocking me when I supply them with my figures again because they haven't read my article. They read a headline, the title of the story, and they kick off without watching the video, because if you watch the video you would see that I refer to actual evidence. In this case, the evidence is from the BVRLA and the leasing companies and accounts, proving beyond all doubt that EVs are bad news. Just let me remind you, I've got a little EV, which is good news. Thanks for watching. See you in the next video. Bye bye.